Let's get Eli Berkovits on the show and see what we can do in hour number 2. I have high hopes. Good morning, Eli.
Hey guys, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
All right, what's up, Eli? Let's dive right into this Packers stuff. And we already talked about the hype and the expectations for this team. We broke down kind of what the depth chart looked like. Nothing crazy surprising, other than maybe Rasheed Walker is the left tackle starter as listed over Jordan. What's your take? Do you think this is the most hyped up this Packers team has been going into a week one and the last 4 or 5 years? I mean, it's got to be, now that Micah Parsons is on this team.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think since probably maybe 2020, 2021, last couple
I
years.
said 21. Was probably the last time we were this hyped.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, obviously in Green Bay, it's always Super Bowl or bust, but I don't think we've had these kind of expectations in a long time. And even without the Micah Parsons edition, I think the fan base, the team, the expectations were high. As Goody said, it's time to start competing for championships. But you add Micah Parsons the way they did, that just brings it to the next level. And now there's really no excuses. It's, all gas. Everyone's ready to go.
Do you think that, it's fair that some of these prognosticators, like the one, making the picks, doing all the, bold predictions on where, power rankings and all of that with this Micah Parsons trade, that everybody shifted from the Lions winning the North, now it's the Packers to win the North and be that dominant team? Do you think that's fair for this team, or do you think they were already right on the cusp of that?
So I think they're already going to be very much competitive with the Lions. And, obviously the Vikings and Bears are not any slouches either. But, yeah, you add a guy like Micah Parsons. I think, when you add a pass rusher like that, that really could be even, 2 or 3 games that go from a win to a loss. A guy like that, that's the player that at the end of the game, he goes and makes that strip sack, forced fumble, game-ending kind of play that, let's be real, the Packers haven't really had that pass rusher in a while. Clay Matthews, Julius Peppers are really the last ones that come to mind, where it was like fourth quarter, 2 minutes left, you're up by 4, someone go out there and make a play and sack the quarterback. That's
think about what, like the Bears game and the Lions game last year, right? Yeah. The Bears drive down and kick the game-winning field goal. Like both those games, like we had to block a field goal. But yeah, if you have a guy like Micah Parsons where you're getting after the quarterback and you end that thing before it even gets started, right?
Yeah. I mean, how many times have we seen TJ Watt end games for the Steelers, right? Myles Garrett, even, not that the Browns are winning a ton of games, but I'm sure Myles Garrett has been a part of any of those wins. It's just, it brings a different level to the defense when on any play that edge rusher, if you're not double teaming him, which obviously changes the whole offensive game plan, he's going to wreak havoc in the backfield. And the Packers needed it. And I think it was, definitely the right move. I don't care how much they gave up, how much they're paying him. That's the kind of move that brings you from this team should compete, they should make the playoffs, maybe a wild card team, to a true Super Bowl contender.
We got Eli Berkovits on the Mason Crosby Show. You can find him at 24/7 Sports and the Packer Report at Book of Eli _NFL on Twitter. I want to ask you about, obviously it's been Micah Parsons' world for the last few days, but we talked about Jordan Love, earlier in the show, and just like what is the expectation for him this season? It's his third year as the starter. He was banged up last year. He's been a little inconsistent, through his time, but has had sparks of really good play. What do you think the expectation should be and is of Jordan Love coming into this season?
I think they're very high. I mean, let's be real. When he's healthy, for the most part, he has shown that he can be a truly elite level quarterback in the NFL. Obviously, there were some turnover issues earlier on last year that he definitely needs to work on. But I also like the fact that he is, a gunslinger and he's willing to take shots and he likes throwing the ball downfield. I'm willing to have some of those turnovers when on the flip side, you're having big plays as often as we would have, where I feel like maybe that wasn't happening as much prior. But right now, I think the biggest thing for him is health. We saw it at the end of 2023. We saw it last year in the brief amount of time where he was healthy. I felt like he was playing at a very high level. So the sky's the limit for him. This offense, Matthew Golden, all these young receivers, the tight ends, Josh Jacobs. I mean, there's really no telling how good this offense can be as long as Jordan Love is healthy and upright.
I like that,
Yep.
Eli. Do you think for Jordan Love, like you mentioned the tight ends, and we're talking about that a lot. I mean, do you foresee, especially in this first game, going a lot of 2 tight end sets, trying to run the ball, trying to get Luke Musgraves and Tucker Kraft really involved in the passing game? Do you feel like that is the best recipe for success with this offense? Kind of try to feed those guys. I was saying it's almost like a boxing match, right? Like you want to get the ball in the, kind of your Punisher's hands, whether it's Josh Jacobs or those tight ends, and make the other team bring the physicality to the other team's defense and make them, make them stop them, and then open the top up for Jordan to take shots downfield. Do you think that's going to be how they attack this Lions team coming up this week?
I hope it is. I mean, I think from the day they drafted Kraft and Musgrave, back to back a couple years ago, that was, I think, their plan and their hope was to run a ton of 12 personnel, get both tight ends going. I mean, when you have 2 tight ends, the way they and also they're different players, right? Kraft and Musgrave. Musgrave a little bigger, probably faster, more of a vertical threat. Kraft more of a short guy threat, great after the catch. That is almost impossible for any defense to stop 2 tight ends of that caliber. Your linebackers, your safeties, they're not going to be able to handle the size, the speed, the physicality that they bring. And yes, we have a lot of receivers and they're exciting, but number one, they're dealing with some injuries right now. And let's be real, last year there were obviously some drop issues. I would have no issue if this team ran a ton of 12 personnel, really featured Kraft and Musgrave. And then when you're complementing that with the speed of Golden and the shiftiness of Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks and Romeo Doubs, I think you really could build this offense off those 2 tight ends, and that wouldn't take away from how great these receivers could be as well.
Awesome. Do you let's go to Micah Parsons real quick and kind of what you foresee his role being to start the season off. I mean, again, at his position, you gotta learn some defensive scheme and some things like that. But I feel like they're going to put him in the best position just to go affect the quarterback, be the type of player he can be. Do you think he's going to be limited against the Lions and probably the Commanders, just to kind of preserve if he does have this back thing and some of the stuff he might be dealing with? Do you think we should be concerned about his back, and do you think he's going to be limited for these first couple games?
Knowing the Packers and how conservative they are, it wouldn't shock me if he's not out there for a full allotment of snaps to the level that we're probably going to get used to seeing him throughout the year. But I don't think it's going to be only on third downs or he plays 15 to 20 snaps. I still think he plays close to a normal amount of snaps. He's definitely, I think, going to play the snaps in the fourth quarter, the big downs, the third and fourth downs. I think he'll be out there. And yeah, I mean, it is a little concerning whenever you trade for a player like this. You give up as much as you did, you pay what you're paying, and you're even hearing any kind of injury. But I don't think the Packers ever would have made this deal if they were truly concerned in the long term about Micah Parsons' back. And I think that I wouldn't complain if they kind of roll him out a little slowly, because, you want to be smart with it. He hasn't been in training camp. He hasn't practiced a lot. You don't want to just throw him out there for the entire game. But I'm not overly concerned that it's going to be, a very low snap percentage or some sort of long-term injury to worry about.
Awesome. We got Eli Berkovits on the Mason Crosby show. You can find him at Book of Eli _NFL on Twitter. I've been thinking about this the last couple of days, so I'm going to ask you this question and just kind of get your take. How in the world did the Packers get Micah Parsons? With what they gave up, all that, were there no other offers to the Cowboys? Why would Jerry Jones go to the Packers or field their call for this offer? You got to imagine there had to be other teams that would be willing to give up what the Packers gave up for a player like Micah Parsons. So just kind of try to, help me understand how the Packers were able to get this deal done and nobody else was able to offer the same thing.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing. I mean, when that report came out the morning that the deal ended up going down and it was other teams are involved, the Cowboys are listening to offers, I was like, all right, that's it. We're going to get outbid, right? That's always kind of the narrative, that the Packers were in the conversation, but then some team came in with a crazy offer that the Packers just weren't willing to match. And I was surprised where it's look, Kenny Clark, great player, 2 first-round picks, that's not nothing. But it would not have surprised me if a team was willing to give 3 first-round picks or 2 first-rounders, a second, and a good player or something like that. I really don't even know how no one else offered more or even equivalent where the Cowboys would be happy to not give him to the Packers. Because let's be real. I mean, Jerry Jones, just in that documentary, right, said the worst loss ever as his owner of the Cowboys was to the Packers. So I was
makes
like,
no sense.
Yeah, if someone gave a comparable offer, they're just going to give it to them and not the Packers. So I am surprised. I don't really have an explanation or a reasoning, but I'm not questioning it. I'm just happy it happened.
Right. Yeah. I'm just looking at I was looking at the cap numbers even, right, for other teams. It's like, Patriots, Raiders, obviously they have Max Crosby, but it's like, all right, you got Seahawks, Cardinals, Titans, could have been a team that could have, gone and done something. I'm just like, how in the world are the Packers? I mean, you got to imagine other teams were saying because our first round picks are not going to be as good as a ton of these other teams.
I think Kenny Clark was a big part of it because Jerry Jones said himself.
Because he wants to stop the run. Yeah.
Like
that's all that matters.
Yeah. I mean, he did say, right, that this deal's not happening without Kenny Clark. And it could be that maybe
Kenny's great.
Yeah. I think maybe other teams were willing to give the 2 first-round picks, but they couldn't offer a defensive tackle of Kenny Clark's caliber. And that might have been the difference, which, look, love Kenny Clark. It was like when I saw his name in the deal, it was like one of those, bittersweet moments, right? Because he's been such a great actor. He's been there his whole career. I kind of envisioned him potentially just finishing his career in Green Bay, having one of those really rare start and finish your career in the same place. And that would have been great. But I do, hope and envision one day he comes back and retires a Packer. But I do think Kenny Clark must have been the difference because there's no way that other teams weren't giving up at least 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, Eli, it is wild. I was watching some stuff this morning and my wife said it right as the deal. She was just literally the Packers not only traded for Micah Parsons, but they just traded franchise philosophy with the Cowboys. Because now Jerry Jones is saying more players, I love my draft picks. I love all that, all that stuff. And he's saying all the things that the Packers have traditionally done. And he's always valued his guys, right? He's always probably overpaid at times for his players that he loves. So what do you think's going on down there in Dallas with Jerry Jones now at his age too, changing this philosophy and, saying now I'm going to stockpile picks. I'm going to, get all this stuff. I'm going to just, save money in the cap. What is going on there?
Besides that, he's just old and senile.
Yeah, but I mean, Steven obviously has his ear. I mean, his son is going to take this thing over at some point. Yeah. So maybe that's his mindset is he is at some point going to walk off and he's trying to maybe leave it for Steven so he can build something for the future and not just be handcuffed.
I don't know. Something tells me Jerry Jones isn't too concerned about leaving anything to anyone other than himself, but I don't know. It's very strange. I mean, right, they just traded a 3rd-round pick for George Pickens where it's all right, we're making a move to try to add another weapon to the offense, to compete, and then a few months later you get rid of your best player after paying Dak the most money in the NFL, paying CeeDee Lamb, I think, top 2 or 3 wide receiver money in the NFL. I mean, it just doesn't add up what the Cowboys are doing. It doesn't really make any sense. You'll get 2 first-round picks, but I think – those picks should not be any higher than 25 at the lowest. Hopefully they're picking 32 for the next couple of years. So there's really, it's hard to reason or rationalize what Jerry Jones is doing right now. I think he just got into a bit of a, for a lack of a better term, a bit of a pissing match with Micah Parsons and his agent, and he didn't want to lose it. And he was like, you know what, I'm not going to give in and just pay you after what I thought we had an agreement, where he did a handshake deal with Micah without his agent.
Talk to the agent. It's not that hard. Here's my conspiracy on this as well, is that because the Packers don't have an owner, because they just switched, presidents, I got this weird conspiracy, and I hope I'm wrong, is that Micah Parsons' back stuff is not as, I hope I'm wrong that it's not severe and that it's not a bigger concern.
Don't say it.
I know, but what if Jerry Jones has been in rooms with other owners or different things, and there's been, just maybe passing conversations, right? And so as he goes and he's like, I'm going to trade this guy, and they're just like, what? You said he was hurt, or there were issues or things like that. That could be something that's going on there as well, because I'm just again, I can't I like the world we're living in that Jerry Jones would trade their best player, a guy that any team in the NFL would dream of drafting, first overall and pay, like be willing to pay top dollar. It blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's hard to fathom how you could do that. I guess if he really thought getting these picks, saving that money, right? They went and they gave Darren Bland an extension and
right.
give some other. But it's like, let's be real. Extend whoever you want, do whatever you want. You're not getting Micah Parsons. You're not getting a player of that caliber on your team right now. So again, the injury, it's a little concerning, but I just don't think Dr. McKenzie and the Packers would sign off on this deal if it was really that serious.
Yeah, because it's not like a hidden injury. I mean, they knew he was dealing with something with his back. They're going to do their due diligence, probably more so than anything, because this is the biggest deal in the history of Packers. So yeah, you hope that they dove into it really deep. But let's talk about this Lions matchup real quick before we let you go. What do you think of this Lions team? A lot of question marks, obviously, with their coordinators changing hands, but you still have Dan Campbell. We're going to probably talk about a little bit in the next segment, but I do want to know maybe your thoughts from your perspective of like Dan Campbell's comments about coming to play at Lambeau Field. Because I'm always like, we need to make Lambeau Field like not a desirable place to come to. It should be really hard. So talk about this matchup and like kind of what you see going on here on Sunday.
Yeah. So starting with the matchup, obviously, right, the Lions got the Packers number last year. They split the series 2 years ago. The Lions, yes, they lost their coordinators, and I do think that definitely matters, right? I mean, there's a reason why they got head coaching jobs, and they were great at their job, and I do think it's nice that we played them week one. They're kind of adjusting to the new coordinators, to the new offense. I think that will help, but I don't think it's going to be a totally different offense or they're going to have some crazy fall off. The biggest thing for me will be stopping the run, stopping Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Don't let Jared Goff start playing off that play action where he's so good on play action. Yep. And then he has time in the pocket, and that's when you really get in trouble against the Lions. So you stop the run, force Jared Goff to try to beat you, not using play action. And again, you have Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary rushing the passer. Jared Goff, I mean, we all know, if he has all day, he's a good quarterback. You start pressuring Jared Goff, he turns into a very different player. I believe Jared Goff has played 2 games in his career against Micah Parsons. He has 1 touchdown and 4 interceptions in those 2 games. He's
going to be aware of him.
Yeah. And all it takes is, right, an early sack in the first quarter, get after him a little bit, and then he starts fidgeting. He starts getting nervous the rest of the game, and that's how you mess with the quarterback. You got to get after him early.
Did I see a stat that Parsons has, he's dominated Penei Sewell as well? Yeah. Was it he has the most sacks against that Sewell's ever given up is against Micah Parsons?
I think the last time they played on 17 pass rush snaps, he had 5 or 6 pressures, which was by far the highest percentage against crazy. Sewell.
Love it.
Yeah. So, I mean, Sewell, obviously a great player, but I think Micah Parsons, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're not double teaming him, if you're not chipping him at the line, he's going to give you hell. It doesn't matter what tackle you got out there. So again, I think you just got to get after Goff early, and that's going to make a big difference. And just Goff, once he gets uncomfortable, we see some games from Jared Goff where it just totally implodes on him. And it's almost always when you're pressuring him early and often.
Yeah. My hope is that without Ben Johnson there, they try to depend on Jared Goff to do more things. I think Ben Johnson just had a great strategy with Goff's skill set. And if they can't run the ball, then if Goff's a statue back
Jared's
there.
not that guy.
Yeah,
Jared's not him,
that guy.
right?
He is not that guy. Yeah.
Eli, can you believe football's on Sunday? How excited are you?
I am very excited. I mean, the fact that, it's only one game, but still tomorrow night we're getting to watch the opening kickoff and then Friday night, another game. This is the best time of year. We're finally, it's here. This has been a very exciting, but felt like a very long offseason. Obviously, the draft being in Green Bay kind of helped bridge it a little because that was very fun and exciting. But this is the best week of the year. The build up to it is almost more exciting than when it's actually there. So this is great.
I love it. And just one quick take. We do our picks on the show, and I think we'll probably do them tomorrow. I think we're going to start doing them. But what do you think? The line I think for the Philadelphia and Cowboys
8.5
is 8.5.
Yeah.
Do you think that's enough? Would you take the over on that?
I don't know. I mean, I think division games, the Cowboys, they manage to usually stay pretty close. I wouldn't be totally opposed to taking the Cowboys at plus 8.5, but I do like the over in that game because I think the Cowboys.
Yeah, what was that line? I don't even know.
47.5.
Okay.
Yeah. The Eagles obviously have a very good offense, and the Cowboys, they're just going to have to throw and throw and throw. And even if their defense is going to be bad, so the Eagles will put up points. And then Dak, CeeDee, George Pickens, Jake Ferguson, I do think the Cowboys will be able to put up some points as well.
Eli just said 31-24 Eagles. That's what I heard. I heard 31. Dallas covers. It goes over.
Yeah, I like
take it to the bank at Potawatomi.
That'd be a fun first game.
Yeah, I would love that.
Would be. Yeah.
All right. Awesome, Eli. Really appreciate you jumping on. Always a pleasure to have you. You're welcome anytime. And we'll talk to you after hopefully after that Thursday night game and they go 2-0. That's the plan. So we'll have you on again sometime. Appreciate you, Eli.
All right. Thanks so much for having me. Happy birthday.
You're knocking on wood?
I'm knocking on wood there, yeah.
Yep,
thanks, Eli.
I got the most dad hat in the world for my birthday. My girl's
that is awesome. That is awesome. Happy birthday, man.
Awesome. I appreciate you.
That's Eli Berkovits. Awesome to have him on the show. He's on the Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. Of course, he's at 24/7 Sports and Packer Report. He's at Book of Eli _NFL. That's a cool handle to have Book of Eli.
Yeah,
like that was a Denzel Washington movie, right?
Denzel,
yeah, Denzel. Yeah. Man, Denzel.
That one's hardcore.
Denzel just came out and said that he doesn't watch movies anymore. Yeah. No, in the movie you're saying, yeah. But he just came out and said he can't watch movies anymore, like because they're all superhero stuff, and he's just not
nothing like deep and like
the art. That it's lost its art form. Yeah.
He just watches his own movies. It's just like I just rewatch all my stuff. It's
right. Yeah. I mean, why? If you're Denzel, why wouldn't you? Right?
Seriously.
It is Mason Crosby's birthday. Happy birthday, Mason! We've got more coming up. The Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the official 5G network of the Green Bay Packers. We're in the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. And like literally every minute we get closer to Packers football. I Cannot wait.
It's Wednesday. They're in it now. Yeah, no more bonus Mondays, no human Tuesdays. We are in the thick of it.
We are in it Wednesdays.
That's right. In it for the Wednesday.
He's Mason Crosby.